They made fun of her under the glowing light of Vidian's 3 moons. Her delicate blue fingers shook as she made hand signs that no one tried to understand. The floating restaurant hung like a jewel above the crystal-clear canals of New Havana. It was filled with laughter, but none of it was nice. Every mean action from her date echoed across the see-through tables, but none of the fancy customers saw the fading light in her purple eyes. None of them, except one person, and what he would do next would change not just her night, but the future of 2 species forever. The Celestial Garden restaurant spun slowly above New Havana's entertainment area. Its clear floors showed glowing waterways 300 meters below. Vidian's capital city spread out in beautiful spirals where human buildings mixed with native Theosian designs, buildings that looked like they were grown instead of built, with surfaces that rippled with soft glowing light. Lyra sat stiff in her chair. The red dress she had carefully picked out now felt like an embarrassing costume. Her skin was pale lavender, which was normal for the Theosians. It seemed to glow faintly under the restaurant's soft lighting, making her stand out even more. Her pointed ears twitched without her control at every sound she couldn't hear. Across from her, David Chen checked his communication device for the 7th time in 15 minutes. His jaw was tight, and he looked annoyed. He was handsome in that easy human way, sharp features, confident posture, expensive casual clothes that screamed he was dating someone from another species, just to try it out. Lyra's hands moved gracefully through the air, forming the beautiful gestures of Theosian Sign Language. She was born deaf, like 10% of her species, and signing had been her main language since birth. David's eyes flicked to her hands with clear impatience. "Can you ask her if she wants the fake protein or the real fish?" he said loudly to a server walking by. "I don't know what she's saying with her hands." The server looked uncomfortable. "Sir, there's a translation screen on the table." "Yeah, I know about the screen," David interrupted. "I just thought this would be easier, more natural." He looked at Lyra with something between pity and frustration. "My friend said Theosians were exotic. He didn't mention they couldn't actually talk." Lyra's hands stopped moving. She had learned to read lips in 3 human languages, and every word hit her like a punch. Her fingers moved again, slower this time. "I can communicate perfectly well. You simply choose not to listen." David didn't even look. He was typing on his communication device at the table next to them. A man sat with a young girl who couldn't have been more than 7 years old. He wore a simple gray shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his elbows. Nothing special about him except the quiet strength in his eyes as he watched his daughter color on a digital tablet. His dark hair was a little messy, and a pale mark on his ring finger showed he had recently taken off a wedding ring. The girl looked up, and her hands began to move in smooth, practiced gestures. The man's hands answered right away. Their silent conversation flowed easily with the comfort of long practice, filled with warmth and understanding. Lyra noticed them from the corner of her eye. Her sharp awareness picked up the movement. David sighed heavily, loud and meant to be noticed. "Look, you seem nice and all, but I don't think this is going to work out. The whole communication thing is just too complicated. I'm looking for something simpler." He stood up, pulling out his credit chip. "Dinner's on me. Consider it a cultural exchange thing." He walked away without waiting for a response. He wouldn't have understood anyway. Lyra sat frozen, her hands folded in her lap. The red dress suddenly felt horrible. Around her, other diners pretended not to notice, but she could feel their eyes watching her. More proof that human Theosian relationships were doomed from the start. But at the next table, the little girl tugged her father's sleeve. Her hands moved urgently. What the child signed to her father would start something neither Lyra nor anyone in that restaurant could have expected. A simple gesture that would echo across 2 worlds. "That man was cruel." "Papa," Elena signed. Her lips were pressed together with anger. "The blue lady understands signs like us. Why did he leave her?" Jackson Rivera looked at his daughter with both pride and sadness. Elena had been born deaf, and his wife Maria had insisted their daughter was perfect, just the way she was. When the speeder accident took Maria 2 years ago, it left Jackson struggling to be both parents. Some people don't know how to listen with anything but their ears. "Sweetheart," Jackson signed back, "it makes them miss important things." "She's sad," Elena signed. "Can we help her?" Jackson glanced at Lyra. She sat with carefully controlled calmness, wearing the mask people wear when they're breaking apart inside, but can't show it. Her glowing skin had dimmed slightly Theosian. Body's response to feeling upset. Jackson made a decision that surprised even himself. He stood up, touched Elena's shoulder, and signed, "Wait here." He walked carefully toward Lyra's table. When he was close enough, he moved into her line of sight and began to sign in standard Galactic Sign Language. "Excuse me," his hand said. "I couldn't help but notice you were signing earlier. My daughter and I wanted you to know that you deserve better than what just happened." Lyra's head snapped up. Her lavender eyes grew wide with shock. She stared at this human man who spoke her language without using his voice. Her hands rose slowly, hesitantly. You know how to sign." "My daughter is deaf," Jackson signed, pointing toward Elena, who waved excitedly. "We learned standard Galactic Sign Language, but I've been studying Theosian versions too. Your language is beautiful. It shouldn't be treated like a problem." Tears filled Lyra's eyes. Most humans don't even try. Then they're not looking at the right things. Jackson signed with a small smile. "Understanding is understanding. How you do it doesn't matter. What matters is that you want to." Around them, other diners began to notice. Some watched with curiosity, others with uncomfortable awareness. Elena couldn't contain herself. She slipped from her seat and walked over, taking Lyra's hand. "Hi, I'm Elena. Are you okay? That man was mean. Papa says mean people are just scared. Do you want to eat with us? We have desserts coming." Lyra looked down at this tiny human girl with sincere eyes and confident signs, and something inside her relaxed. "Hello, Elena. I'm Lyra. I would like that very much. Thank you for your kindness." The server approached carefully. "Miss, would you like me to move your table setting?" Lyra stood before she could finish, gathering her purse with quiet dignity. "Yes, please." Within moments, the three of them sat together, a deaf human child, a single father, and a Theosian woman who had expected rejection but found connection instead. But as Lyra settled into her new seat, a figure approached their table, someone who would challenge everything that had just begun, forcing them to defend not just their choices, but the very possibility of connection across species. Director Sarah Westbrook wore the crisp uniform of the Colonial Integration Officer, navy suit with the symbol of both species. She had been eating 3 tables away, but this scene apparently needed her attention. "Excuse me," she said, her voice carrying fake warmth. She looked directly at Jackson, not acknowledging Lyra. "I'm Director Westbrook with Colonial Integration. I couldn't help but notice you've invited this Theosian to join your family table." Jackson's jaw tightened. He signed to Elena and Lyra one moment, then looked up. "Yes, Director. Is there a problem?" "Not a problem exactly. I wanted to make sure you understand the complications that can happen from cross-species social interactions, especially when children are involved. Cultural differences, communication barriers, things that can be confusing for young minds." Elena's hands moved sharply, and though Westbrook couldn't understand, the child's defiance was clear. Lyra gently touched Elena's shoulder, calming her. "My daughter understands differences better than most adults," Jackson said quietly, anger beneath the politeness. "She lives them every day. Communication barriers don't confuse her. Willful ignorance does." Westbrook's expression flickered with irritation. "Mr. Rivera, the Integration Office has rules for human-Theosian contact, especially in public places. These exist to prevent misunderstandings." "Protect," Jackson repeated. "This woman was just humiliated and abandoned. We offered kindness. What needs protecting?" Westbrook's eyes finally flicked to Lyra. "Theosians process social interactions differently. What you interpret as kindness might be received as something else. They don't understand boundaries the way we do." Lyra's hands moved sharply. Jackson read them and translated aloud. "She says, I understand boundaries perfectly. What I don't understand is why your office claims to promote integration while enforcing separation. What I don't understand is how a civilization that traveled between stars can't manage basic empathy." Several diners turned to watch. The confrontation was becoming a spectacle. Someone pulled out a communication device and started recording. Westbrook's face flushed. "I don't think you understand who you're dealing with." "I understand perfectly," Jackson replied, standing to full height. "I'm dealing with someone who sees my daughter's deafness as something to be fixed, who sees this woman's species as something to be managed. I'm dealing with bureaucracy that mistakes control for community." Elena tugged Lyra's sleeve. "Why is that woman being mean?" Lyra signed back. "Some people need the world to stay in small boxes. When they see something that doesn't fit, it frightens them." Westbrook straightened her jacket. "Mr. Rivera, I strongly advise you to reconsider this arrangement. This kind of public display could affect your daughter's social placement, her educational opportunities. Are you threatening my child? Jackson's voice dropped dangerously quiet. I'm offering advice. Think about what's best for your daughter. Consider whether your generosity is actually helping or simply making yourself feel enlightened. She walked away, returning to her colleagues, who nodded approvingly. Jackson sat down slowly, hands trembling with held-back anger. Elena climbed into his lap, small arms wrapping around his neck. Lyra sat very still, her glow dimmed. Perhaps I should go. I don't want to cause problems. Stop, Jackson signed firmly. Don't let her do that. Don't let her make you believe your presence is the problem. But your daughter, my daughter, is learning the most important lesson I can teach her. That kindness matters more than rules. That understanding matters more than comfort. Elena's hands moved between them. Papa's right. You're our friend now. Friends don't leave because mean people say mean things. The restaurant manager approached with genuine warmth. Your desserts, compliments of the house, you're welcome here. But as they began to eat, none of them noticed the man in the corner who had recorded the entire exchange, a journalist whose video would go viral before the night ended, turning a simple act of kindness into something far larger and more dangerous than any of them could imagine. The deserts glowed faintly with bioluminescent enzymes. Elena's eyes widened. They glow like you do. Lyra managed a genuine smile. When Theosians feel happy, our skin lights up. We can't hide our feelings. I like that, Elena signed. Everyone would know if you were sad and could help. As they ate, Lyra asked questions about Elena's life, her school, her interests. Elena answered with unself-conscious enthusiasm, painting pictures of playground adventures and her collection of old Earth books. Mama started the collection. Elena signed, her movements slowing, before she died. Papa keeps adding to it. Lyra's hands moved with deep gentleness. Your mama sounds wonderful. She was. Jackson signed throat tight. She taught me the most important thing was teaching Elena to be proud of who she is. To see her deafness not as something missing but as a different way of experiencing the world, a complete way. Lyra's gaze met his recognition of shared experience, of fighting daily against a world that saw difference as something wrong. Theosians have a saying. Lyra signed slowly. The universe speaks in countless languages, but wisdom is understanding that silence and sound are just different dialects of the same truth. Movement near the entrance caught Jackson's attention. A crowd had gathered, communication devices out, pointing toward their table. The manager approached, troubled. I'm sorry, but you've become noticed. Someone recorded your interaction with Director Westbrook. It's spreading on social feeds. She projected a holographic display. Human father defies integration office. Cross-species friendship or dangerous precedent. Views climbed rapidly. Comments poured in, some supportive, many hostile. The video played on loop. They're making it political, Jackson said quietly, turning basic decency into a debate. Elena signed with confusion. But we didn't do anything wrong. You're right, sweetheart, Lyra signed. But sometimes people need to fight about things because they're afraid. More whispers rippled through the restaurant. Someone called out, "Is that them?" A well-dressed woman approached. "Mr. Rivera, what you did matters. Some of us have been trying to change integration policies for years." She looked at Lyra. "You deserve respect." But another figure appeared, young man with a sneer. "Yeah, respect, but not at the expense of human safety. Next thing, they'll want our schools, our neighborhoods. They want what everyone wants." Jackson interrupted sharply. "To be treated like people, is that threatening? Easy for you to say when you're not losing jobs to Theosian workers." "My daughter is deaf," Jackson said, standing. "She knows what it's like to be treated as less than, and I'll be damned if I teach her that kind of thinking is acceptable." The restaurant erupted into murmurs, arguing, transforming into a small version of larger tensions. Elena's hands moved urgently. "Papa, I'm scared." Lyra took Elena's hands in her lavender ones. "Don't be scared, precious one. Be brave. What we're doing, your papa, you me we're showing everyone that fear doesn't have to win. That kindness can be stronger than rules." But as Lyra finished signing, the restaurant doors opened again, and a group entered that would transform this private moment into something far more important, bringing the full weight of institutions threatened by what simple kindness might inspire. Councillor James Hartford entered with the formal robes of the Colonial Council. His silver beard gave him sculptural authority. Behind him walked Councillor Cirrus Thyron, a Theosian woman with deeper blue skin, her glowing markers pulsing with political wariness. The restaurant fell silent. "Mr. Rivera," Hartford said, voice echoing with practiced authority, "you've caused quite a stir." Jackson remained standing, Elena in his arms. "We had dinner together, Counselor. I wasn't aware that required commentary. When that dinner is broadcast as evidence of integration office overreach, when it challenges carefully constructed protocols, it becomes political." Thyron stepped forward, signing as she spoke. "Mr. Rivera, Director Westbrook's approach was inappropriate, but her concerns aren't baseless. Integration is complex. Rushing it can create backlash that hurts both species." Lyra's hands moved sharply. "Counselor, with respect, I'm not an experiment. I'm a person who wanted dinner, who was humiliated, who was shown kindness. Why does that need to be complex?" Hartford frowned. "Your presence at this table is being used by activists to push for rapid integration, to dismantle safeguards. From what?" Jackson interrupted. "From understanding, from friendship." Elena looked at Hartford, her small hands moving with devastating simplicity. "Why are you angry that we made a friend?" The question hung, unanswerable. Thyron's hands moved. "The child asks the only question that matters." "This isn't about friendship," Hartford began. "It's about order, structure. It's about fear." Lyra signed, movements sharp. Jackson translated, "Fear that if humans and Theosians actually connect, actually see each other as individuals, the systems that keep us separate will fall apart. Those systems employ people, give them power." Her glow built until she shone from within. "I work at the Colonial Archive. I process historical records. I've read early post-contact documents before your office sanitized them. I've seen proposals for full integration rejected, not because they were dangerous, but because they were inconvenient. True equality meant sharing power. It was easier to create departments and protocols than actually treat my people as equals." The restaurant was utterly silent. Thyron stepped closer, authority in her signs. "You've read the Tethys Accords, the original drafts?" Lyra nodded. "The ones proposing shared governance from the beginning, equal representation, integrated education. The ones rejected as premature." Hartford's face darkened. "Those documents are classified. They're historical records," Lyra signed, "accessible to any archivist with proper clearance. They show integration could have happened 2 decades ago, but it was deemed too risky, not for our species, but for power structures on both sides who benefited from maintaining separation." Elena's hands cut through the tension. "So you all agree we should be friends. You just don't want to say it because it makes your jobs harder." From a child, the truth was undeniable. Thyron knelt to Elena's level, robes pooling around her. "Small one, you are wiser than all of us. Yes, we should all be friends. I'm sorry. Adults make simple things complicated." She stood, facing Hartford. "Counselor, I move that the Colonial Council review all integration office protocols with the goal of removing barriers to genuine social connection." Hartford's calculation was visible. Finally, he nodded stiffly. "The Council will consider such a review." But as the councillors turned to leave, commotion erupted near the entrance. Protesters were gathering, their resistance revealing just how much stood against the simple idea that 2 species might actually become one community. Protesters had gathered outside humans holding humans first signs, and, disturbingly, some Theosians would preserve Theosian purity banners. Fear existed on both sides. Elena buried her face in her father's shoulder. Lyra's glow flickered wildly with stress. "We need to go," Jackson signed. But Thyron turned back. "No, don't run. That's what they want to prove. Connection leads to conflict. If you stay, if we face this together, we become a different story." The manager approached. "Please remain inside until security arrives." Outside, the crowd grew. News drones hovered overhead, but then something unexpected happened. Other people arrived, humans and Theosians together, forming a protective barrier around the restaurant. They didn't shout, they simply stood, hands linked. One woman held a child who waved at Elena, hands moving in awkward but sincere sign. "You're brave." Elena's face lifted. "Papa, look, they're protecting us." Lyra moved to the window, glow steadying. "I've never seen this. Theosians and humans standing together. Not at an official event, just choosing each other." Hartford approached quietly. "Mr. Rivera, what you started tonight, it's forcing conversations we've avoided for 20 years. Those conversations will get ugly before they get better." "Then maybe they need to get ugly," Jackson replied steadily. Maybe we've been too comfortable with protocols that let us pretend we're making progress when we're maintaining the status quo. Hartford looked at Alina, then Lyra. Your daughter, when the backlash comes, and it will, she'll be targeted. Are you prepared? No, Jackson admitted. I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of teaching Alina that fear is a reason to ignore what's right. My wife died because of someone's careless convenience, that kind of prioritizing comfort over others' safety. It kills people. It kills communities. It kills possibility. Lyra's hands moved. In Theosian philosophy, we have Lumerus the light. We carry that illuminates the path for others. To be visible is to be vulnerable, but also to be a guide. Tonight, we're all visible. And maybe that's what needed to happen. Alina signed. Mama said being deaf meant I experienced the world differently, not less. She said I could teach people to communicate better. You glow when you feel. I sign when I talk. Papa speaks but listens with his hands. We're all different, but we're all talking. That's what those people don't understand. From a 7-year-old, the solution seemed simple. Security arrived, dispersing protesters. The supporters lingered, waving before departing. Thyr approached one final time. What you've done will resonate beyond this city. I will fight for real change, but there will be backlash. Please be careful. As the restaurant calmed, Jackson, Alina, and Lyra remained at their table. What happens now? Lyra signed. I don't know. Jackson's hands moved thoughtfully. But Alina and I would like to see you again, as friends. Lyra's glow pulsed with hope and gratitude. I would like that very much. Alina signed excitedly. Can we show you our book collection? Papa reads the poetry, but the rhythm is hard. I'd be honored to help. Lyra signed. Genuine smile reaching her eyes. As they stood to leave with security escorts, none of them knew their friendship would become the catalyst for the most significant transformation in human relations since first contact, testing not just their courage, but the foundations of two civilizations learning to become one. 3 months later, the Colonial Council passed the Integration Reform Act by 7 votes to 5, with Thyr casting the decisive vote. The act dismantled restrictive protocols, transformed the Integration Office into a support service, and mandated mixed-species education programs. Director Westbrook resigned in protest. Few mourned her exit, but victory had costs. There were protests, some violent. 3 community centers were vandalized. Families like Jackson's received threats from extremists on both sides. Through it all, Jackson, Alina, and Lyra continued their friendship. Lyra became a regular presence at the Rivera home, helping Alina expand her signing vocabulary into Theosian dimensions. Jackson found himself falling in love cautiously, terrified of betraying Maria's memory, but unable to deny his connection with this brilliant woman who saw his daughter as perfect. Lyra felt it too. Her glow betrayed emotions in ways human blushing never could. 6 months after their first meeting, Jackson taught Alina a Theosian phrase, one Lyra had taught him privately, one that meant more than words could convey. That evening, as they sat on Jackson's balcony watching 3 moons rise above New Havana's glowing canals, Elena's hands moved through complex signs. You illuminate our path, and we carry light for you in return. We are family across stars and silence, united in the language that matters most. Lyra's glow exploded with emotion, tears streaming as she pulled Alina into a fierce hug. Her hands moved to Jackson. Thank you for seeing me when I felt invisible, for teaching her to see beyond what the world said was possible. Jackson's response was simple. Thank you for taking a chance on a single dad and his stubborn daughter, for showing us the universe is bigger than our fears. Below, the city continued its eternal dance, hundreds of thousands of beings learning that connection wasn't to be managed, it was to be celebrated. The viral recording had been viewed over 200 million times, but for them it remained what it always was, a moment when 3 people chose kindness over comfort, courage over compliance. Alina fell asleep between them, still signing in her dreams, her father on one side and the woman who had become her second mother on the other. And in that quiet evening, with 3 moons casting light on a world still learning to see itself clearly, the universe whispered its ancient truth, that consciousness yearned for connection above all else, that barriers between beings were never as solid as they seemed, that love, friendship, understanding, these transcended biology, history, fear. In a universe built on division, sometimes a single act of dignity was enough to shift the stars themselves, and slowly, beautifully, The galaxy began to listen.